Hi everyone. Today I'm excited to walk you through a demo of durable functions using the new Durable Task Scheduler, which is currently in limited early access. I'll show you how easy it is to configure your durable function apps to use the Durable Task Scheduler, as well as the powerful capabilities that it provides you and your development teams. So let's dive in. So in this scenario that I have on my screen, we're showcasing our intelligent PDF summarizer application, which is a data processing project. If we walk through the end-to-end, starting here on the left, I can take PDFs, and they can be any PDFs that I find online, and I can upload them to a storage account, specifically into an input container. I then have a durable function app deployed that triggers on blob input. So that will schedule an orchestration for every blob that's uploaded. And so here's the code for that, which is called the process document orchestration. And this orchestration consists of 3 activities. The first is the analyze PDF activity. This activity function downloads the blob and sends it to Azure Document Intelligence Form Recognizer. This service analyzes the PDF and returns the results as text. So whether the PDFs have tables, images, or other elements, the Form Recognizer intelligently scans and converts the contents to text. The results of that activity are then passed to our next activity, Summarize Text. This activity makes a request to Azure OpenAI text completion with the prompt, "Can you summarize what this text is about?" It returns a summary of the uploaded PDF. And lastly, the third activity takes those results and then writes them into a new text file and re-uploads them to blob storage, but this time into an output container. I also want to highlight how easy it is to add retry policies to my activity functions. Here you can see I have a retry policy. If any request fails, it will retry up to 3 times, waiting 5 seconds between each attempt. These are then passed into as extra arguments into my activity calls. And as I mentioned earlier, this entire setup is backed by the new Durable Task Scheduler. So not only do I get extreme performance with my orchestration and activity scheduling, but I also have access to a debugging dashboard that provides visualizations to help me understand and dive deeper into my orchestrations and their statuses. Now let's switch to the Azure portal where I have this entire solution deployed to a resource group in my subscription. So here we see that I have the new Durable Task Scheduler resource, which is the backend for my function app, which is here. And then I have my intelligent resources, Document Intelligence, and Azure OpenAI. Those are the bulk of resources of this scenario. And if we look at my function app, we go to the environment variables. This is where I want to point out how easy it is to configure and connect to the Durable Task Scheduler. So here I have a connection string, which is provided to me when I create a Durable Task Scheduler resource. And this is what I use to plug into my function app. And within this connection string, I also have my managed identity credentials for authentication. And then lastly, I have the Task Hub name. So task hubs are sub-resources of a durable task scheduler that allow me to schedule orchestrations within specific groupings. So that's it. That's all I need to configure my function app, specifically my durable function app, to connect to a durable task scheduler resource. So let's run this application. So I'll switch to my Azure Storage Explorer, which is a UI over my storage accounts. And here, what I will do is I'm in the input container for my blob storage. So I will upload 3 PDFs, and I found 3 PDFs online. The first one is just the first page of the .NET Conf agenda. The second one is the Microsoft Ignite announcement. And the third one is a Microsoft tax document, a Form 10Q specifically. So I could take these 3 PDFs and drop them into an input container. Let's try that again. Perfect. Okay, so these are uploading. But without the durable task scheduler, it's hard to understand the status. Did this trigger my orchestrations? Did they work? How do I know they work as I expect? What if one gets stuck and I don't see it in the output container? How would I debug that? And so those are some of the challenges that we've heard from our developers today. But I know these specific ones did work, or so I think, because I can see the summaries in the output container. And just to confirm it did what we wanted it to do, let's preview the responses. So this is Azure OpenAI telling us that this was a document from the Microsoft Ignite conference. The preview of the tax form is able to summarize what this tax form was about. And then I also get the .NET Conf summary as well. So it did work. Again, so I think. But what I want to highlight is the dashboard that we get with a durable task scheduler. And so I'll switch back to my browser, and here you can see within the dashboard for my durable task scheduler. This is provided to me every time you provision a durable task scheduler resource. So as soon as you plug this into your function apps and start scheduling orchestrations, content will start to show up here. So these last three orchestrations are the ones that we had just kicked off. And I thought all three of them had succeeded, but in fact, one of them had failed. Before we dive into the failure, let's just take a look at what I see on this page here. So I'm within a particular task hub, and as I mentioned, that's a specific grouping for where my orchestrations are scheduled, so I can have different apps scheduling orchestrations within different task hubs of my durable task scheduler. And so within here, I see the execution history of my orchestrations. So I see the name of the orchestrations. Soon you'll see the version of your orchestration. I have all the timestamps associated to when that orchestration was created, last updated, and I can filter on all of these. And then I have the runtime status. So basically the status of the orchestration where I can see 2 of those 3 have completed. I also have easy filters that allow me to just look at specific states of an orchestration. So in this case, completed, running, or failed. Lastly, I have actions. So actions allow me to drill in to the overall inputs and outputs of this orchestration. So here I can see this orchestration took an input, which was the PDF, and the output in this case failed. And we know why it failed immediately because the blob had already existed, meaning I already had this file uploaded into that account. The last thing that I can do on this page is I can schedule orchestrations. So as long as the orchestrations is a registered orchestration within my durable task scheduler, I can execute and schedule one from here. So let's say I wanted to understand specifically where an activity had failed, in this case for this failed orchestration, and I want to know how long each activity took, whether activities were still waiting to be scheduled, and so on. I wanted to get a better in-depth look into the status of and lifecycle of my orchestrations. Well, you can do that by clicking on an orchestration ID here. So this brings me to a detail page of this orchestration. And here you can see I have rich visualizations that show me the lifecycle of this orchestration. So here I can see exactly how long this entire orchestration took, and then the status of each activity function. And so I can see that the analyze PDF succeeded, indicated by this green check mark, and it took almost 4.5 seconds. I can also look at the inputs and outputs of each activity. So this took in the very first activity, the PDF, and then the output of it was the result from that form recognizer. So the contents of that PDF turned into text. And then I could see that the next activity was that call to Azure OpenAI, which took the contents of that PDF and asked Azure OpenAI to summarize it. And I can see the results from that call here. And then lastly, I can see the write doc. And I see that 3 times here, but I can also see that it failed, which is indicated by this red X. And the reason why we see these 3 activity calls here is because we had those retry policies. We told our application to retry 3 times, waiting 5 seconds in between each attempt. And I see that reflected here. So I know those retry policies are working as expected. And then lastly, I can see specifically, the input of this was supposed to take the summary and write it to a new text file, but it couldn't upload it to blob. Why? Because of this exception here. This blob already existed. So I was able to see the completely end-to-end lifecycle of this orchestration and immediately identify why this particular instance had failed. I have other ways where I can see this data, I have the raw events table here that show me similar data but in different format, as well as the sequence diagram. The last thing that I want to point out on this page are these controls at the top here. So assuming that I have the right permissions where I can interact with orchestrations, I have these controls where I can pause ongoing orchestrations, I can resume them, I can terminate them, I can purge them completely from the durable task scheduler, and I can even raise an event. Raise an event allows me to do things like if an orchestration needs some human interaction to proceed, I can do that from within this dashboard. Again, assuming that my credentials have the right roles that allow me to do that. This entire dashboard is behind our back, so I'm only going to see and be able to interact and access actions that I have the permissions to do so. So hopefully this gives you a good idea of how you can interact and monitor with your orchestrations um, that are using the durable task scheduler. This is how we expect our customers to troubleshoot, monitor, and gain a better overall view of the lifecycle of their orchestrations over time. So we'd love for you to try this out on your own. You can find this exact sample in our private preview repository here. So you can actually go to the samples, go to the PDF summarizer, click on the language of your choice, and then deploy it with a single CLI command. All the bicep and everything you need is completely instrumented with the Azure Developer CLI. So run a single CLI AZD up, and you can deploy and have fun with this application on your own in your own subscriptions. We look forward for you trying out the Durable Task Scheduler. We'd appreciate any feedback that you have. Thank you so much.